This is Pratik, founder and CEO at INSIDEA. I have a special guest with me who's also we connected previously. And I think I can call him as a friend because I understood how he went from his journey being an entrepreneur in different fields. I can relate to his story. I thought it would be a great insights that he can bring to the table. Daniel, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Pratik.
More about Daniel. Daniel is founder and CEO at MintStars. And MintStars is like something incredible that they're doing for the creators. It's a subscription-based NFT platform that empowers creators to take control of their content and earnings. So Daniel, maybe before we deep dive into MintStars, I would love to know a bit more about your journey. Take us to your backstory, man.
Sure. So, yeah, I've always been quite entrepreneurial. Had a couple startup endeavors at university, which led me to kind of my first real job out of university, which was working for Octopus Ventures in London, which was my first real exposure to like the real startup world. I loved it. I would have stayed in venture capital, I think, my whole life if they hadn't told me, you need to go and get operational experience, which was, I guess, the first real chapter in progressions of various jobs I had in go-to-market facing roles in a couple different industries, a couple different businesses. That led me to my most recent role prior to MintStars, where I was leading sales in the Middle East for Vista equity-backed unicorn Exactly. And I felt that consumer facing was always really what interested me most. But you get a huge amount of learnings out of working for B2B companies in go-to-market and sales facing roles. I can tell you more about obviously the MintStars journey specifically, but I felt that there was a huge opportunity there to bring a product to market and to solve very real pain for very real people, which is something that I often feel you're kind of lacking in B2B. You're selling whatever it might be, accounting software, and to people in finance roles, and you're asking them, how much would a software like this really change your life? And the answer is always, yeah, it would save me 30 minutes daily or something like that. But some of these consumer facing softwares and businesses that you can create can really change a huge amount of people's lives in the day to day, and that's always something that has really drawn me and attracted me to consumer facing world. And so I'm bringing a lot of the practice, the methodology from 6 or 7 years in B2B to the space, and that's how I've ended up at MintStars and in a kind of CEO go-to-market facing role.
So what inspired you to create this product, right, MintStars, and how did you come up with this idea, first of all?
Yeah, good question. So I have a few personal, very close friends and contacts who are OnlyFans creators. And I think, like most people, I had heard of OnlyFans. I'd seen its kind of meteoric rise and felt that it must be a good thing for creators, right? It allowed creators, sex workers, adult performers to make money independently of managers, agents, middlemen in an industry that has traditionally been very exploited by these middlemen. But it was through this exposure to these friends of mine who are creators and one specific conversation with this friend who came to me and we were chatting about it, and she was telling me that she'd been the victim of quite a serious batch of image piracy. And she said, it's just part and parcel of it. Like she had 600 photos on her OnlyFans and 500 of them odd were ripped and put on different platforms. And I was like, wow, that must be, there must be uproar about this. OnlyFans must be really helping you. And she kind of laughed and was like, no, it happens to every creator. It happens daily. And it's not just your image piracy. It's a nightmare trying to get anything, any complaints, any kind of harassment dealt with. I have had my accounts randomly frozen 3 or 4 times. not just directly on OnlyFans, but also using the traditional fiat payment processors. Because of the rules of MasterCard, PayPal, I'm regularly having my Cash Apps, my Venmos, everything shut down. It's very difficult for me to send and receive money. I can only withdraw my money once a month on these platforms. I'm having to pay very high fees. They do very little to protect me. They do nothing to protect me from chargebacks or the financial discrimination that I mentioned. And I was thinking, this is crazy that there's that. And she was like, trust me. And I was like, it can't be every creator. This must be a few isolated incidents. And she started showing me Twitter threads that had tens of thousands of comments and retweets. And the simple truth of the matter is that that OnlyFans doesn't do anything to protect their creators. They make $1 billion in revenue a year without really doing anything to advocate for the creators that they've built the business off the back of. Right. So there's the pain. That's the real pain that I was talking about in my intro. Right. That's the pain that, you look for 1% of pain like that in kind of B2B to try and, to exploit and leverage and try to sell software to people. And I was thinking, if we can solve some of this problem, because these people are doing nothing illegal. These are single moms trying to, make rent payments as a primary or secondary form of income. These are students who are just trying to, pay their way through college. And they are being systematically deplatformed by predominantly the financial institutions, then also all the platforms that are built on top of these financial institutions that just don't want the trouble of fighting it. So they're like, you know what? They'll have random sweeps once every few weeks and half these accounts are frozen and shut down. And so I felt very strongly that not only is there a huge opportunity here from a business perspective, but also it's just wrong. Fundamentally, it is wrong. These are people who shouldn't be so discriminated against. They shouldn't be marginalized to the corners of the internet. But for whatever reason, it's just not a cool thing to advocate for, right? People don't seem to think that it's a worthy cause to advocate for. And there has never been best-in-class tech solutions for this group of people. Even though the adult industry has always been the kind of cradle of innovation, you can find 20 pieces of technology that we use day to day now that has come directly as a consequence of the adult industry, because they're always having to innovate to stay ahead of the discrimination that they face. But the platforms that they use predominantly look like they've been built in the 1990s. They're not been built by teams and people who understand their issues. And this is why, my co-founder was the other real catalyst to make me think, yeah, we could actually do this. We could start a business in this space. She is currently doing her PhD at Harvard in women's rights and labor rights, and has spent her whole academic and professional career in law, advocating for these groups, and is very, very knowledgeable and credible in this industry. And I felt that with her expertise in the space and in the sector, and my expertise within the technology sector, that we were very well positioned to kind of try to solve this pain, and to also build a best of breed team and best of breed software to deliver to this group who never have that level of solutions delivered. It's always, this is what you get, and you'd be happy that you've even got that.
So how MintStars so definitely understand the pain point that you're trying to solve. So maybe if you want to share something about MintStars on how MintStars is different from other platforms and how actually you're solving this problem.
Yeah, sure. So I think first and foremost, we set out to solve those issues that revolve around the payment process that I talked about, and a lot of the financial discrimination on these platforms. And immediately you look at that and you think, well, introducing crypto rails can solve those problems, right? Bypassing the traditional payment processors, MasterCard's rules, you immediately bypass the issues around chargebacks, around like frozen accounts and not having direct access to your accounts, so like non-custodial wallets. And you also you also mean that you can charge lower fees, so creators can take more of their earnings. We actually take 0 fees from creators. We take a 5% platform fee from the buyer side or the fan side. So yeah, immediately just introducing those payment rails that helps solve a lot of those problems. The other unique thing with regards to the model that we use is we combine subscriptions with a marketplace for resales. So we actually try to not use the word NFT really at all anymore, for a lot of reasons. I think justifiably, a lot of people are very skeptical about crypto, especially in the space. I would say just as marginalized as this group of adult creators are, they're equally skeptical, again, justifiably, of teams who are businesses that have popped up trying to just make money off of their labor, but also off of new technology and fads, that don't end up actually helping them. So the way that we describe it is every time a creator posts a piece of content, each one of their subscribers receives a unique copy of that piece of content, which is effectively an NFT. So if you have 50 subscribers and you post let's say you're a fitness creator, you post a 4-minute handstand tutorial out to your fans who are fitness enthusiasts, fan A will receive 1 of 50, and they will each receive 1 of 50. Fan A might view that video 10 times over the course of 3 weeks, learn that skill, and then log back onto the platform 2 weeks later and see a couple new videos, and then look back at that video that he hasn't watched in a few weeks and decide, yeah, I don't need that anymore. I'm going to put my copy of that video up for resale on the marketplace, which sits on the platform, with the original creator earning whatever royalty fee they set of any resale. And then through that mechanism as well, you remove the burden that creators, all content creators, not just adult creators, face of having to be their own marketing team and do all of their own PR and promotional work on their free platforms like Twitter, Reddit, which predominantly they spend about 30 hours a week doing. When you have a marketplace where the fans are going out promoting, reselling the content that they receive through their subscriptions to other fitness enthusiasts who maybe weren't subscribed to that guy, but think, I would love to, learn how to do a handstand. I see it on the marketplace for $5, $10. Or I'm really interested in that creator, but I don't want to spend $20 on their subscription fee. I see this individual post for $5. I'm going to try before I subscribe. And then they view that video, they unlock it by purchasing it, and they decide, I really like that creator, I'm going to go back and subscribe to them. So just by adding a marketplace for resales, you you supplement the subscription revenues that creators are earning with these continual resale royalties. You allow their subscribers to recoup some of what they're spending every month on their subscriptions, so they're more likely to stay subscribed for longer and pay higher subscription fees. And you have this discoverability element where these creators are attracting new subscribers through no additional effort of their own.
Makes sense. Love it. I think it requires a change. I think companies have stopped innovating once they reach certain level of users or revenues, and they hesitate to innovate and take action to protect their users. And that's when I think it's a real opportunity for aspiring entrepreneurs like you, who actually found the problem in current marketplace and how you're upgrading it. So love the idea. What is something that you think looks like the future of content creation, NFT for content creators?
Yeah, so I would say a couple of things on that. The first thing is it is becoming much more the concept of monetizing your content and introducing paywalls for content is becoming much more widespread. Look at what Instagram are doing, even Twitter, or experimenting with kind of paid subscription, whatever they might call it, another tier for paid followers. And so that concept is becoming now more mainstream for non-adult creators and all creators, which is a good thing. I think creators are traditionally under compensated for the work that they do. I mean, look at like Spotify's model, look at YouTube's model. Traditionally, it's only the very, very, very top creators who are compensated significantly, and even still relative to, you know, the eyes that they're bringing to these platforms, they're being undercompensated in general. So I think that will change. I think there are some stats that have been I think I'm trying to remember the report that I read where it was from, saying basically looking at the money that creators have earned through NFTs versus traditional platforms, and already, you know, it's significantly higher through NFTs. What I would say is, I think like I say, I think the concept, the word of NFTs will kind of become outdated, and that it will just be a bit like the dot-com boom. You know, there were a lot of internet companies, right? Everyone was an internet company, or they were calling themselves internet companies. Nobody calls themselves internet companies anymore. Everyone just is an internet company. The same trend will be true, I think, of NFTs and of crypto. There will be more knitting together, seamless kind of knitting together of the technologies, which is exactly what we're trying to do now. And
so do you think like when, like, maybe a year or 2 years ago, we were talking about crypto, everyone was talking about crypto, Bitcoin, right? And now we're talking about AI. NFT came, but it's still not there, maybe so popular amongst everyone, right? So do you think next will be NFT, a buzzword?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we've kind of gone beyond that too with NFTs. I think if you look at, again, just the evolution of NFTs, you had like NFT collectibles and sort of basically like what NFTs as art, NFTs as collectibles. And if you look at the creator space, the NFT platforms that were popping up aimed at creators were like, collect this playing card of this creator. And I think that there's so limited, so many, the use cases that's so limited, you know, you can't scale that model really, which is why we introduced this subscription model, which is familiar, scalable, and actually has utility. So yeah, I think that there'll be more and more of these platforms introducing it in ways that actually bring utility with it, versus just the collectible kind of nature that we saw NFTs revolving around originally. Excellent.
So maybe switching gears here, talking a bit more about your entrepreneurial journey. And
sure,
I think you have successfully launched a great product out there. I'm sure you might see hyper growth in coming months. What is something, some tips that you would like to give your fellow entrepreneurs who are still, like, you know, beginning of their journey, how they can build a successful product?
Okay. I think I'll do a mix of philosophical advice with very kind of functional advice. I would say philosophically, a couple of things. Don't have your head turned too much by what you think you should be doing or what you read about on Twitter or social media. There is this, first of all, you know, VC world and startup world is a very small community. It's almost cult-like, and for outsiders it feels it's already difficult enough starting a business. You're dealing with things like imposter syndrome, and then trying to break into this very small, tight-knit Silicon Valley community is not something that I would say people should spend huge amounts of time and energy focusing on. That whole grind culture, you know, if you're not up at 4 a.m., you know, you're wasting time and all that. It's bullshit, to be honest. You know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's what you should be focusing on, you know, being sustainable in the way that you work, having a healthy work-life balance. Creating a startup is the hardest thing that most people will ever do. And there's a reason why most people fail at it. And it's because they cannot sustain the push that they start with more than anything. I really strongly believe that. I would also say that your network is bigger than you think it is. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Don't spend your time preoccupying yourself trying to think, how can I get, you know, Accel or Insight or one of the top VCs on board, because that's not the aim of the game. The aim of the game is to start a successful business, bring a product to market, and hopefully walk away with as much equity as you can at the end of the day, right? So your goal shouldn't be to be, get on the Forbes 30 under 30 and get some big VC on your cap table. Great if you can do that and they actually add value, but explore in your network first. Be shameless about who you ask for help, because I took over 350 calls with my co-founder for our pre-seed round. And again, your expectations are so warped by what you read. I read an article about the Figma story recently, and that's an unbelievable success story. And they're talking about the founder's journey, and he had this big realization point after they were rejected by Peter Thiel at some point. And I was like, wow, that's supposed to be an inspirational story, that they went to like 3 VCs and one of them rejected them. I wonder how inspirational people would find, 350 calls with, majority rejections in there, because that's just what you have to do. But every call will lead somewhere, even if it's not quite right the space for that person. They might know somebody. And so you just have to take these calls. You have to be shameless, and you have to have faith that there are people in your network who will be able to help connect on the funding side, on the team side. And so explore it, use LinkedIn, be very proactive there, and don't just think, well, I don't come from that background, I won't have the right contacts, because you will somewhere. One last piece of advice.
Go for it.
One last piece of advice I would give, more on the functional side, is convenience beats quality every time. When you're building, especially for consumer facing, convenience beats quality.
Convenience, maybe if you want to just elaborate a bit on that point.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all very well saying, for example, using crypto payment rails is so much better for the creators. You get to keep, you get access to your wallet at any time. You can withdraw at any time. All of these benefits, you're protected from chargebacks, everything else. But if the process of KYCing on fiat to crypto on rampers is very burdensome, if they go through multiple friction points and then there's like a 50% rejection rate, it doesn't matter the benefits of it. You will see huge drop-offs at that point, because it's just hard work. And so this is something that we've been faced by. We're very ideological in some senses in our approach, but you also need to be very practical with those that's a great example, I think.
Thank you for sharing that. There's one more piece to this puzzle of podcast today. So we are switching our gaze towards rapid fire round, where I'll ask you 5 questions. Again, that is more on your personal side and your entrepreneurial side. So here's the first one. Name one other company and CEO inspires you, and why?
This is supposed to be rapid fire.
Yeah. Again, you can take time to explain if you want to. Any name that comes to your head first.
Give me 1 second. Can I take 1 second here?
Yes, you can.
Can you edit this so that I'm not taking as long? I would say, okay, a close friend of mine from university called Alistair Cummings. He founded a business called Transparency X.
Okay.
The reason why he is a good source of kind of inspiration and motivation for me is that he's been doing this for 10 years almost, and never had any of the big sexy VCs backing them or PR deals or anything like that. Super, super knowledgeable, intelligent guy that believes in what he's building. And I think it's taken them 9 years to really find, I think they pivoted a few times, and they found their kind of product market fit now, and they're starting to get real traction. And so you think that's just an inspirational story that people, it seems kind of mundane in some.
Yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it doesn't have to be any famous CEO. There are people around you in your network, right, that can inspire you. Right, so we can look around us and
I've never been one to really idolize people that I don't know. I think
Makes sense.
I think it's for sure fine to look at what someone's done and be like, that's great, amazing. But I don't think I would ever be inspired by people that I don't know and I haven't seen struggle and I don't see the way that they work.
What's one of the best business advice you've ever received?
Just do it. Just stop thinking about it and do it. And I would say only build something if you can't stop thinking about it. And if you can't stop thinking about it, then build it.
Yeah.
And it's not just business advice, it's life advice as well. Just do it. Don't take the safe route. Branch out and do it. And you're never going to be sorry that you did something. You'll be sorry if you didn't do something ultimately.
This is so much that I believe in. Taking action is something that makes you the person you are today. So definitely agree on that. What's one skill that has helped you become successful?
I would say being sociable, being able to have conversations like this. I think nobody has all the skills in their toolbox. That's the expression. People, if you're a technical founder, great, you can build, but you might struggle with going out and meeting people and articulating what you're trying to do effectively, which is something that I feel very grateful that I'm able to do. And that's the training that I've had. And so that's the area that I lean into, and know what your strengths are, know where your weaknesses are, and hire for your weaknesses. Try to make yourself obsolete, right? Try to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you in areas where you feel you're lacking. Yeah. And be shameless about saying, how does that work? I don't know what that means. Or, leaning on them in the areas that you don't feel that you're strong.
Excellent. So building a product or managing a team or sales, networking, marketing, even being on the podcast takes a lot of effort, stress, preparations. Yeah. I'm sure you must have this roller coaster ride going on there for a while. How do you motivate yourself? What keeps you going?
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking to me on the Tuesday after the second biggest banking collapse in US history, followed directly by the third biggest banking collapse. So this is, and by the way, we've been in, we started this business just over a year ago, myself and my co-founder. She'd never worked in tech before. She'd worked in law, and she'd worked at, she's been at the top academic institutions in the world. I kind of convinced her, come, let's build this product. You've got amazing expertise in the space. And since then in tech, think about what the last year has come with it, like the Terra collapse, FTX, now everything's going on. And those are just the macro things that happen. Within that, you have daily crises, and I think that's a huge part about what being a startup founder is about, just problem solving day in, day out. And that's where the mentality that it's a marathon, not a sprint, comes into it, where you've got to believe that the one who wins is ultimately the one who just keeps going. And again, I think you can only do that if you really believe in what you're building and who you're building for. And you really you're genuinely passionate about solving that problem, and not just about, making some quick money, because it's very, very rare that the money comes quickly at least. So what keeps me going is that belief, and actually trying to really being passionate about the problem that we're solving. And then just all the little things around your life, be it, your friends, your family, your pets, your hobbies. Playing a lot of sport for me is something that really helps me de-stress. And that's something that we're very passionate about with the team as well, right? Nobody is expected to work, ungodly hours. Everyone works differently, and we try to accommodate everyone's different working styles. I'm not particularly procedural. My co-founder, our CM, very, very procedural. They love their task tracking tools, and I'm like, you can put that up, but I'm probably not going to use it. And we're all pretty good at understanding how each other works.
Love it. Now, this final one, what movie, book, or a TV show that changed your life?
So many. I watch everything. I probably think I watch a movie every night, or, I'm very passionate about film and cinema.
What people portray in social media, that all of the successful people, they don't watch TV shows, they don't watch movie. But I disagree. Even
Yeah.
I need a break, right? I need to disconnect and just to relax my mind.
100%. Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. And I would love to know which is your favorite one that actually changed your life.
Well, it's so difficult. You, as somebody who watches a lot and probably reads a lot, I'm sure be able to emphasize. It's difficult.
So I loved one of the really good story about entrepreneur. We Crashed, which is on Apple TV. It was really nice to understand, some of the hyper growth companies that we saw in the past, billion-dollar companies. Yeah. Some of the decisions that you make along the journey sometimes impacts you. So yeah, definitely made me realize how I want to build my roadmap and be too grounded when we are growing.
Yeah.
So
okay, I would say on that, by the way, I watched We Crashed, so I started watching We Crashed, but at that time we were in the middle of our fundraise, and it would drive me crazy, right? Because it's that same thing again, how you see these, or we would speak to VCs and they'd be like, love it, you're doing everything right. We just, we've been really burned in this space before. And then they tell you about the investment that they made in the space. And it was 4 million. This company was raising their pre-seed of 4 million round at a 20 million valuation purely off a white paper. And you're like, well, no wonder you got burned. Look at us. We're in front of you way further down the line. We don't have this, we don't have an experienced founder, or we don't tick that specific box. And so it's frustrating for me to watch We Crash and see these kind of, see
sometimes it shows the unreal world that we don't see it often.
Right. And it also helps humanize these people, I think, because you, again, with imposter syndrome, you can sit there and be like, God, these people must be so much better than me or smarter than me. And then you realize that it's all just, a lot of it is often kind of smoke and mirrors. So that helps. I would say you've kind of given me some inspiration with, I think, another Apple TV series. I like some of those dystopian style concept series. I think it was Severance that I watched on Apple TV recently. Amazingly acted, and just a really great dystopian kind of concept film that makes you think about living life inside the box, right? And I would encourage everyone to watch Severance. Great series. Definitely didn't change my life. I'd have to come back to you on that because it's a big question, or change my perception of life. I'd have to come back to you on that.
So we are at the end of the session, and I want to take a moment to thank Daniel for being on the show and sharing his journey. Daniel, you want to have a final word with the audience about how they can use MintStars and how they can reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I love taking calls. Feel like it's a huge part of what my day-to-day involves. So whatever it might be, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or daniel@mintstars.co.uk. We're about 10 weeks into our beta launch of the platform. So we're allowing fans now onto the platform from, we've invited everyone from our waitlist. So we're now allowing non-waitlist fans onto the platform. Creators, we're still letting in batches. So I would encourage everyone to go to mintstars.com and take a look at the platform. If you're a fan, if you're a creator, sign up, reach out. We'd love to give you a run through and show you a bit more about what it's about.
Excellent, Daniel. Thank you so much for your time today. We hope everyone enjoyed the insights from Daniel, and I hope that you are able to create successful product for yourself if you're an aspiring entrepreneur out there. We wish Daniel all the best for the future, Daniel, for the success that you will have with MintStars and beyond. Until next time, this is Pratik signing off. Bye-bye.